Good evening and welcome to your favorite program, the University of the West Indies and You. And let me just say that this is the second program in the year 2015. I did wish you a happy and productive new year. Well, that's continuing. Today or this evening we have with us two lovely ladies. I did not see Trinidad and Tobago at the Miss Universe competition. They were probably here in Dominica when that took place. But we will find out much more about them as we progress throughout your favorite program, UWI and You. And there are lots of things to talk about. They were here for the open house at the University of the West Indies Open Campus, Dominica site, and the many students who encountered them, or prospective would-be students of the University of the West Indies, were enthused by what they had to offer. One being a deputy dean of the Faculty of Law in St. Augustine and an administrative assistant at St. Augustine. So they are going to tell us much more about themselves because they know that when they are here on this program, they have to introduce themselves. That is, tell us all about themselves, their lives. So, I will leave their names to be said by them, although I'm very much tempted to do so. But in any event, they have to go through that exercise of introducing themselves. How have things been going for you? Have you and your children considered attending the University of the West Indies? I think you should if you haven't done so yet. Let's have a word for our sponsors.
I'm part of a tough, smart,
constantly evolving,
never too old to learn community of human beings.
proud of country,
Proudly Caribbean, global citizens.
with convenient access to over 400 learning programs
Delivered both online and face-to-face.
from the Caribbean's University of First Choice.
My mind,
My life.
my world of possibilities is wide open.
Call, click, or visit the UWI Open Campus.
Okay, so the two ladies hail from Trinidad, and to my immediate left is Afiya, Jules, and Alicia, Elias-Roberts. Mrs. Alicia, are you doctor or?
No, I'm not doctor.
You're not yet, huh?
As yet.
As yet, well, soon to be. Let us begin with you, Afiya. Who are you?
Good morning all, and good afternoon, or evening I should say. Thank you for having me here. I am Afiya Jules, and I am an administrative assistant with the Faculty of Science and Technology, St. Augustine campus. I deal specifically with the pre-science program, which was previously administered through the UWI Open Campus, St. Augustine. I previously did my bachelor's degree at UWI Open Campus, St. Augustine, and I'm currently a student in the master's program, Strategic Leadership and Management.
Is that all? Have you built your costume?
No, I have not built a costume.
Can you imagine a Trinidadian almost a month, or no, less than a month, half a month away from Carnival, and her costume is not ready? It will be on time for the 16th.
I like to watch.
You like to watch. Spectator,
Yes.
Carnival person. And to you, Mrs. Alicia, Elias-Roberts, who are you?
Good evening to our viewers. I'm Alicia Elias-Roberts, Deputy
And
Dean.
listeners, viewers and listeners.
And
We are
listeners. Thank you. I'm Alicia Elias-Roberts, the Deputy Dean for Outreach in the Faculty of Law. I'm going to tell you a bit about myself. I am a Guyanese, so I hail from Guyana, the land of many natural resources, Kaieteur Falls, very beautiful ecological territory in South America. I've been living in Trinidad and Tobago for 4 years now, and I love Trinidad, the land of Carnival, which is about 2 weeks from now. It is, right now it's an exciting time in Trinidad and Tobago. You have steel pan calypso, carnival
Soca.
fever, soca. How can I forget soca? So Trinidad and Tobago, the land of abundant petroleum resources. At the Faculty of Law, this is a newly established faculty at the St. Augustine campus. We now offer a full law degree program. Previously, in the 1970s, law was done, only the first year was done at the St. Augustine campus as well as Mona in Jamaica. And some of the open campuses, I understand, they offered part of the program, and then you had to go to Cave Hill in Barbados to do the full 3 years program. But now we have 3 faculties of law at the University of the West Indies. So you can complete a full law degree at the St. Augustine campus or the Mona campus in Jamaica, as well as the founding campus in Barbados. You can still do the full 3-year law degree program. So it's a faculty that offers 1 undergraduate program, a law degree. Thank you.
Alicia gave us a mouthful of, and I should be expecting that. Sorry I said you were Trinidadian. When I see the red, the black,
Okay.
and I just thought, well, you're flying the flag. Sorry I did not know that you were Guyanese, but after 4 years of being in Trinidad, you seem to have been transformed, even wearing the colors of their flag.
Yes, these colors are also in the Guyana flag.
But the Guyana flag, I think, is
Yes,
what is
it
it
has
called?
green,
It's
the golden arrowhead.
It's golden arrowhead, yes,
Yes.
golden arrowhead. Although they lost to Trinidad in the Super 50, so they were not really shooting arrows, were they? the cricketers, Trinidad, the Red Force prevailed.
Red Force.
So if you were wearing red on that day the match was played, then the Guyanese would have doubts of you supporting them. What you did not say to us, Alicia, where did you do your degree?
Okay, I studied at the University of Guyana because they have a collaborative arrangement with the UWI.
Yes.
So I got my degree there. I also studied at the University of Oxford in the UK, where I did a master's.
So where's the English accent then? That's missing. I studied in Oxford. That would have been better. Yes, anyway.
And I studied in Texas also. I did a master's in energy, environment, and natural resource law. So one of the things that I've done recently at the St. Augustine campus is to develop oil and gas law. And we have a new course in oil and gas law at the St. Augustine campus. It was offered for the first time last year. And actually this year, one of the things that we're doing is a big inaugural oil and gas law workshop that soon will be advertised on our faculty website. So throughout the region, we are hoping to get wide participation and support for those who are interested in oil and gas law. That's an area that has been underdeveloped in the region, curiously. And we're now looking to expand upon that development and to have training and to facilitate that type of capacity building in the region.
Fantastic. And one of the spill-offs or the outcomes of that sort of training that Alicia talks about, I'm so happy that the price of petrol has gone down. I don't know what effect it has on the economy of Trinidad and Tobago, with oil being some less than $45 US a barrel, when normally it would be around 100 per barrel. But that's good news. If that is what your research is leading into, and the training that you're giving the oil-rich country of Trinidad and Tobago to the benefit of the region, continue to do so. Now, Afiya, you're involved in science and technology.
Yes, I am.
What sort of support do you give to that faculty?
Well, as mentioned, I deal specifically with the pre-science program. It's a program that we took over from the Open Campus in August of last year, 2014.
Sorry, should I ask, the pre-science program, was that one which led to persons going on to do medicine?
Well,
because I know the Open Campus, particularly at Gordon Street, they offer a pre-med, a sort of A-level sort of approach.
Well, the pre-med program is different to the pre-science program.
Okay.
It is equivalent to CAPE, CSEC, CAPE and A-levels, where we offer mathematics, biology, chemistry, and biology, right? We cater for persons
No physics?
Yes, physics,
Physics, okay.
right? We cater for persons coming out of the CSEC level. If it is you don't want to spend the 2 years at Cape, you could come to the campus and you spend 1 year, 2 semesters, full-time, doing the pre-science program. It's very reasonable. If you're a Trinidadian, it's gate covered for the first year. And we offer classes on campus, your labs on campus, and you are part of university life. You feel as though you're an undergraduate student while you are there. It's the subscription is very high. We have had over 600 applicants applying. We couldn't take all, unfortunately, but it's something that we're looking to expand on to offer the public an opportunity. If it is you don't want to do the Cape, or you think that it's, you know, a bit too much for you, you can come and do the pre-science program. Even if you have done Cape, you can do the pre-science program.
Okay. And does that pre-science program help you to matriculate to
Yes.
move on to any science
Any faculty at the university. You can
including medicine?
Including medicine, engineering, law, food and agriculture, science and technology.
What I understood is that the pre-med program that is done at Gordon Street, one of the open campus sites, it is meant for non-Trinidadians.
Right.
So you are catering mainly for Trinidad nationals.
And the region.
And the region.
We have
yes.
persons from the region that apply and come on campus and do the pre-science.
Are there any Dominicans in your program? Are you aware?
Not to date. We have not had any Dominicans come in, but I did mention it at the open house and at Lead Institute that they can apply, they can come, they showed interest in it, and we are hoping that it grows from there.
Okay. Well, there may be a Dominican there, I don't know. Alicia, if you know all of the, how many, 500, how many do you take in any particular year?
At least 450.
Afiya, 450, oh, quite. So there may be a Dominican because is that the first time you look like you are getting used to mountains, rivers, valleys, and winding roads?
I am enjoying it.
Is that the first time to Dominica?
It is my
Tell
first.
us your experience.
It is my first time to Dominica. I was amazed that coming from the airport, it was very scenic and stuff like that. We had a lot of rivers that I took pictures of. When I
hope it's not to put on Facebook in Trinidad.
No,
and
just for my
Trinidad
memory.
And Tobago.
No,
yes,
it's for my memory.
Yes, okay.
But when we got to Rooster now, things got a little bit interesting. We had these sites that we're looking at that looked abandoned. The buildings looked abandoned, but it was actually utilized. And I think that's very historic. It was very, very captivating for me.
Okay, okay. Was that the French Quarter? Were you told of the French Quarter in Roseau?
Well, I was told that you all have French history, and a lot of the things, the buildings, they want to leave at that state, you know, the historic state of the French. So a lot of the words that we are trying to pronounce, like the restaurant Guave, and you know,
guava.
Yes, it's guava, but they say the French twister. That is what we have to, how we have to pronounce it.
Okay, I'm going to presume you are from Port of Spain, because if you were from any of the villages or what you may call small towns in Trinidad, you would have heard a little Creole, because Trinidad has a French background. Listen to some of the calypsos.
Yes.
If you recall, if you're old enough to hear Sasaye, that came from Sparrow. And I always tell Trinidadians that soca originated in Dominica. They never believe it, but that is so true. The first soca song that was sung by a Trinidadian, Lord Shorty he was called then. Shorty. He died. He died as a Rasta.
Shorty I?
Shorty I, yes,
Shorty
Shorty I.
Right.
He sang the first soca at the RBD Cinema in Portsmouth. It is called Udi Mwa Upiti. You told me you are small. Okay. And then I think he's not engineer, another calypsonian in Trinidad. I think he died. He was repairing his vehicle on the side of the road, and somebody knocked into him. And he too was a proponent of soca. Okay. So it has that calypso as well as this French beat which we have, which is unique to Dominica, and has evolved from cadence lipso to bouillon. You'll hear bouillon. bouillon is a nice little pot with all-in-one, etc. That is almost approaching, well, the water of the broth is what we call bouillon.
Bouillon.
It's a lot for Guyanese to understand, is it? No. I have left you because that scenic beauty that Afiya described is very much like Guyana.
Yes.
Okay, because Guyana has even
have
much more to
rainfalls.
offer than Dominica in terms of
the-
land space. So tell us about it. What was different in your first visit to Dominica from Guyana?
Okay, they well, coming from the airport, as Afiya said, I didn't expect, to encounter the forest, part of your forest, before we reached the city, and it kind of reminded me of Guyana, actually, and more the interior part of Guyana, our rainforest. We have part of the Amazon rainforest in Guyana. We have the Kaieteur Falls. So we have a lot of ecological beauty in Guyana.
As well as gold. I mean, you have
Yes, lots of natural resources in Guyana.
natural resources. Fighting with Venezuela and probably Brazil for your gold. Is that still happening?
Yes,
It is. Okay. Well, whenever I look at the Guyanese, I'm still expecting to see you all littered with gold, etc. But you have lived in Trinidad for what is it? 4 years, you said? So all the gold may have disappeared by the Trinis and Tobagonians. But let's then ask you, because you are the Deputy Dean in the Faculty of Law that deals with
Outreach matters.
Outreach, okay? Communication and outreach, I would think.
Outreach.
Yeah. So what is the goal of that outreach? Do you want to produce more lawyers?
Well, the goal of the
Tell us
outreach is
the
for
role is, your role.
Yes, my role as Deputy Dean of Outreach is to create outreach activities so that the students would have an opportunity to reach out to the community, because quite often you find that lawyers appear to be separate from the average man, and they appear to be out of touch with the community.
Alicia, why is that so?
They reside.
I must take you up on that. You said that lawyers appear to be separate. Is that how people like myself
There is sometimes
view lawyers?
There are different
I have
perceptions.
different views.
I see the jokes on Facebook and social media about
What
lawyers.
do they say? What do they say about lawyers? Because
there are often a lot of negative jokes about lawyers being liars and
yes,
and,
they're trained to lie. Yes,
yes, there are different fallacies and myths about
or
lawyers.
to twist the truth.
Right. So I create outreach activities so that we can allow the students
Debunk those things.
Yes,
that,
to debunk those fallacies,
yes.
and give students the opportunity to do charitable things. So sometimes the students will go to homes and repaint homes or give back to orphanages and do things that they can reach out in that way.
But what happens in court now? I mean, that is the social aspect that you're trying to build about lawyers, to change people's perception. But people view lawyers as affiliated to courts,
Yes.
and always come up with interpretation to help their client, even if they may know that the client.
Yes, when you're defending someone, you have to give the best possible
even if
representation
you know that
for
that person is a criminal.
You have to assume that the person is innocent until proven guilty. So there's a presumption of innocence.
So there's the guile
You
to portray that person or to present that person as innocent.
Yes, you have to. And right, getting back to the different outreach activities that we do, I mentioned earlier the oil and gas law workshop.
Yes.
So that is one way in which we're going to reach out to a need in society and to fulfill that need. We have several other upcoming workshops in commercial and banking law, workshops in environmental law. So there are different areas that we are looking at, and we are promoting those areas through different workshops. Recently, a week ago, we had a CCJ symposium at the Faculty of Law. We hosted a symposium in collaboration with the Canadian High Commission in Trinidad, and then we had several other international organizations that partnered with us, including the ILO, the International Labour Organization,
yes.
UNDP, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and others.
Development Program, okay.
Yeah, so it was well attended. We had over 100 persons in the audience, and there was live streaming of that event. That event is still available online through the University of the West Indies St. Augustine site. If you go into that site and search for the live streams, you'll see a link to that CCJ symposium. I mean, it was very good because we had 2 panels, and we had participants from Australia, a judge from Australia, Justice Logan. We had a professor from Canada. We had representatives from the Trinidad Bar Association. I was one of the moderators. My Dean of the Faculty of Law, Professor Rosemary Bell Antoine, she spoke on one of the panels. And the 2 panels looked at the international experience. One panel looked at the international experience of other jurisdictions that have accepted other courts to replace the Privy Council as their final court of appeal. And they looked at the impact of that on their jurisprudence, developing an indigenous and regional jurisprudence.
Yeah, Alicia,
if I could just stop one thing though.
I know, but what I'm going to say to you, you'll continue.
I want to get to one other point, that the other panel looked at the Caribbean Court of Justice right now and the role that it can play, its effectiveness and its integrity, and the way in which it is building up upon its jurisprudence for the 10 years that it has been in existence. And why is it that we don't have more countries in CARICOM acceding to that court as their final appellate court and replacing the Privy Council with the Caribbean Court of Justice? So we're looking at regional issues, things that can impact us, and reaching out to the public in that way. Yes.
You see, I was warned by Alicia at the start of the program that if I give her the reins, nothing stops her. But what I am amazed by is her acumen, an anticipation, and that probably is the mark of a good lawyer or a solicitor, whichever she prefers to call herself. I needed to zero in on the CCJ.
Yes.
And you probably anticipated that, and you have given me some food for thought. Let me just welcome you with the news that of the few countries, I think Barbados, there are 4 countries now, Guyana, Belize, and Dominica, have all joined the CCJ.
Yes.
And there is a reluctance on the part of the 14 or 13 other CARICOM countries who have not joined the CCJ, to include Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
What do you perceive as the problem of other countries, CARICOM countries, who see the validity of the CCJ moving away from the Privy Council? What is hindering their registration with the CCJ?
Okay, well, first in answering this question, I want to indicate that I'm speaking from my own personal views. These views would not represent the university.
See, a disclaimer.
Oh, yes. West Indies.
Yes.
I have a particular bias because I worked with CARICOM.
Yes.
And I worked with CARICOM at a time when the agreements were being drafted, the agreement establishing the Caribbean Court of Justice and the appointment of members of the Regional Judicial and Legal Service Commission, the appointment of judges, the inauguration of the court. I worked at CARICOM at that time, and I have a bias in support of the court. I've attended so many seminars and symposiums that supported that court. I understand the importance of establishing a regional and indigenous jurisprudence. I see hanging on to the Privy Council as a relic of colonialism and something that we have to mature and come of age as independent territories to allow our own jurists to dispense justice and final justice in the region. With respect to some territories being hesitant to accept the Caribbean Court of Justice as the final court of appeal, sometimes you hear about fear that investors might lack confidence in the judicial system, but there's no study or any study to support that fear. That is something that was raised by the Prime Minister, the Honorable Camilla Passad Bissessar in Trinidad, when she indicated a couple of years ago in the Trinidad Parliament that they're going to accede to the agreement establishing the Caribbean Court of Justice, but only in a piecemeal fashion. They're saying that they're going to accept the criminal jurisdiction and not the civil. And that kind of piecemeal accession to the court is not provided for under the treaty. So the CARICOM heads and the community, the regional community, many attorneys and commentators said that that's not provided for under the agreement, and that might mean an amendment to the treaty, and that is really not what we want. We want to see full acceptance, because sometimes the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And there are so many difficulties in trying to accede to the court in that piecemeal fashion in terms of splitting the jurisdiction of the court that I don't think that's the way to go.
Okay,
Right.
I hope you do have, Alicia, a CARICOM passport.
Yes.
Bear in mind you are returning to Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
And the present Prime Minister, Kamala Persad, is, or was, bear in mind, a lecturer in law at the University of the West Indies at Kville. Okay? So I hope that comment, because I should remind you, this program is seen around the world.
Yes.
Okay? You go to YouTube, UWI / Dominica, and you will be there.
Yes.
Probably within 2 weeks' time, it will be posted on our YouTube.
Great.
Okay? So, so I wish you well on that score. But I know you've spoken from the heart, and you have told us why. There are other, more for the lay persons like Afiya and myself, there are other concerns. Not only what you described, this piecemeal thing where Trinidad and Tobago would want it for criminal and not for civil. One of the nagging things, and you'll answer a little later in the second half of the program, you will give us that. But from the layman perspective, is the fact that persons view political interference as one of the major deterrents from countries joining. And I'll say this, you hear the politicians around the region speak about cricket voluminously, as if they themselves were cricketers. Easy picking to say who can bat and who cannot bat well. But they know, because they are the ones who influence, in many ways, the political system in their respective territories. Everybody is a king in his or her queen in territory. And there is, and you cannot say otherwise, but you may say otherwise, there is political interference in judicial systems in the Caribbean. And that is of major concern.
Well,
but
I would like to address that.
I know you will, but can we do so after we have invited Afiya to say something in regards to science? And I am speaking here from a scientific viewpoint. There must be precedence on that sort of interference taking place. I don't want to talk about Dominica because I hold a Dominican passport and I just voted on the 8th of December. So
well,
I have to
really
be
would like to respond to that now.
I know you will, I know you will, I know you will, and I'll give you ample time to do so. But Afiya, I spoke from the heart as a layman with no legal background and my concerns about political interference in the judicial system. In the next 30 seconds, what is the success rate? You started in 2012, you said, for this, or last year?
Last year we started the pre-science program.
With the pre-science program.
Correct.
But you can measure it by the number of applicants coming to the St. Augustine campus.
That's right.
After this year, how many are progressing to doing degrees?
Out
of the 450?
We are into the second semester now. Out of the number of students.
Oh, last year meaning September. That was when it started.
That's
so it's
correct.
A brand new.
To the Faculty of Science and Technology. All persons that have applied did express interest in moving forward into the different faculties, more so medical science and engineering. We would have consulted with them to let them know what courses they need in order to progress. For example, in engineering, you need your math and physics, and for medical sciences, biology and chemistry. So those are the two most popular combination of courses that students will choose. Currently, applications are open for undergraduates. So most of them would have already applied and submitted their information to begin in September of 2015. Applications are also open for the pre-science for 2015 as well, with a closing deadline of August 21st. Okay. The reason why we are that far along in the year is that we cater for persons who would have completed CAPE but did not get the required grades. They could join the pre-science program. Okay.
I'm not talking here empirically, but there are in that program many more women than men.
Many more.
So we still haven't solved a problem which plagues us in the Caribbean. And you'll also comment on that, Alicia, the business of gender equality, you may say, in higher learning, tertiary level. The boys are being outdone by the girls. Nothing is wrong with it, but I really wish that many more men and boys would attend university to do a plethora of programs. In Trinidad, you have more engineering men than females, but that is rapidly changing. Let us at this time take a break for our sponsor. Who else? The University of the West Indies.
I'm part of a tough, smart,
Constantly evolving,
never too old to learn community of human beings.
proud of country,
Proudly Caribbean, global citizens.
with convenient access to over 400 learning programs
Delivered both online and face-to-face.
from the Caribbean's University of First Choice.
My mind,
My life.
my world of possibilities is wide open.
Call, click, or visit the UWI Open Campus.
Yes, viewers and listeners, I know you were waiting for the continuing battle between the hosts, you know, the usual host for the past 5 years, and Mrs. Alicia Elias-Roberts. It seemed almost heated when I made some allegations, you may say, about lawyers and the practice and what happens in court in all the, most of the jurisdiction in the Caribbean. She's here to address that. Let me just say, there was one person that I met who looks at this program religiously. She's from Salisbury. She's a vendor at the market. And she told me that when I started in 2015, I said Happy New Year to everyone, but I didn't single her out. Here it is. To that vendor who sells me pumpkins, oranges, Christophine, and you name it, you have been mentioned. And I hope you are listening or viewing this program. Now to Alicia. Yes. Alicia, I made was it an accusation you'd call it? Or I allege that the public view or perception of lawyers, which you are helping to change that image, good, and it's a new paradigm which I welcome. Many of us professional persons, the lay persons have a view of us and what we do. And it is sensitive for lawyers because we're dealing here with justice, and justice doesn't always go along with fairness is not observed. As you see on American television, we have had incidents of not political interference, but police and the shooting of young blacks in America, even unarmed. And it registers in the public mind that there's a tinge of racism, there's a tinge of unfairness and lack of justice, particularly for young black males in the United States. So, what is our bad, you may say, in the Caribbean, in respect of that view of political interference?
Right. Well, Felix, if I can get to the point you made before the break about it was with respect to the integrity and independence of the appointment of judges at the Caribbean Court of Justice. And I want to emphasize that that court is unique in terms of its election of judges and the appointment of judges to that court. There is a Caribbean Court of Justice Trust Fund, $100 million that was established for the funding of that court and the salaries of the judges. So they're insulated from political interference. The manner in which the judges are appointed also makes them insulated from political interference in the region. So there should be no hesitation or fear that there is that potential for the politicians to corrupt the Caribbean Court of Justice. Right? In terms of the second issue that you raised after the break, with respect to the treatment of, maybe you said black youths and the police and extrajudicial killings, that is something that is quite alarming in the region, in particular in Trinidad and Tobago, where I reside. I think that's quite alarming. But apart from the role of the judiciary, I would think about the role of the police service also in training police officers and attempting to curb the high incidences of what appears to be extrajudicial killings and violations of human rights. While the Trayvon Martin case and several cases in the US were given a lot of media publicity, quite often you see names splashed across the papers, the Express and the Guardian and so on, in Trinidad, but they're not given that type of international media attention, and those names would just fade away after a week or sometimes less. But I always see the numbers stacking up, and not only in Trinidad, in Jamaica, and throughout the region, it is quite alarming. And quite often it might be black on black, the same ethnicity on the same ethnicity, but it's the police force against maybe the marginalized groups in society, persons from a particular community that might be targeted as being thugs or gangsters and gang members. But I think those are social ills that not only the judiciary can play a role in terms of justice, but it has to start from the community and grassroots levels, so that you need community groups, you need the churches to be involved, the schools to be involved and play a better role. Parenting from the very home, the family, the unit, we all have to get involved and to stop that type of social ill in the society.
Yeah, Alicia, I in part, I think you answered some concerns, and it is not for me any personal attack on you as a solicitor. But what I think, in part, you evaded is where are we? Why is it that the CARICOM governments agreed, I would think in most of them, that we should have, or by consensus, we should have a separate court from the Privy Council.
Yes.
That is a Supreme Court, you may say. Yet they are the ones, the leaders, who are hesitant.
Okay.
Has there been any research as to why there is that reluctance to be part of the CCJ? Only 4 countries after how many years? Yes. 10 years. Only 4 countries. Why are the leaders hesitant? Is it because they know what goes on in their jurisdiction where there is political interference? For example, Dominicans have that view that at our high courts and magistrate courts, let's put it at the high court level. If a top politician were to do something wrong, somehow they always get away. Why is that so? No, that is not the CCJ. You spoke about the appointment, which I'm very much aware of, and that fund $100 million US, so that we know that money does corrupt. If these judges, which can come, I think they can come from anywhere in the world, are well paid, they live in some luxury, that they will not be influenced by the purse, the budget of Trinidad, the budget of Jamaica or Dominica or St. Lucia. That is understood. Right. So that is a safeguard, because you as solicitors, lawyers, and people of the court system, you recognize that money can have a major influence on judgment. I am also saying too that politics can have a major influence on judgments in the courts. Yes. Because I think it is very difficult for magistrates and judges in the Caribbean to prosecute well, judges don't prosecute, but they pass judgment, they take decisions on a case before them. If it involves, say, prime ministers or presidents or those persons in leadership, it always seems, or it appears, that they're on the side of the government. Okay. Because, one, I know the governments do pay for them their salaries, so that is one thing. But there is also the political overtone, where the unwillingness of judges in the Caribbean to go at top leaders. Okay. And you mentioned Trinidad, and there's a case in point where this prosecutor got killed, the lady, I can't recall. Okay. And there is also that fear, and gang-related, etc., that if judgments are taken, the security in the region is not such that it will prevent someone on the CCJ or any other court from being attacked, etc. So there is also that fear. I'd like you to comment on what I've just said.
Well, Felix, you touched on several things. With respect to the municipal courts throughout the CARICOM territories and whether there is some political interference there, there is always that fear and that apprehension that maybe the judiciary might be corrupt and you want the judiciary to be independent. But the way in which most of the Commonwealth Caribbean constitutions are written and designed, there is an appointment process that involves politicians.
Yes.
With respect to the judicial pronouncements,
including the CCJ, you have a political, you have several people appointing judges on the CCJ. And it also includes, there's private sector, there is...
there's a legal, judicial and service commission at that level.
And how is it made up of? What is it made up of?
The composition, they also include, you mentioned the private sector and the deans from the faculties across the region. There's several persons who sit at that level, and it goes through the heads of government at CARICOM also for the nominations. And I must say recently a Trinidadian was appointed as a judge to the Caribbean Court of Justice, a female.
Female, okay.
Judge, yes. But I want to get back to the municipal courts and this perception that they can be influenced by the politicians. But quite often when you read those judgments, you realize that the way the constitutions are set up, it might be such that there's a separation of powers principles in play and the judiciary should not be involved in certain political decisions. So you might have a case going to the court that involves elections commissioner making a declaration about who should be appointed president after an election. And if that goes before the court might be hesitant to deal upon it because there might be something called an ouster clause in the Constitution that kind of prohibits the court from dealing with a politically sensitive matter. So sometimes even at that preliminary stage, the court would find that it's not appropriate for them to pronounce upon highly politically sensitive issues. Think about the stability of the nation and several other factors at play that sometimes matters of the executive and political matters should be dealt with across the floor in Parliament or with the electorate, and not everything should be resolved before the courts. But the courts play a major role in terms of stability, in terms of upholding the rule of law, and in terms of as the guardians of the Constitution to enforce the law. So I would like to think that if a judge is appointed, then they would hold the order they've taken and those issues close at heart in coming to their decisions.
Well, that may not always be the case, but I accept your explanation because what the general public finds is that a chap may steal one coconut, okay, and there's no thing of the judges or the magistrates, thinking of the humane side of things. There's a poor fella, unemployed, and just one coconut. He sends him to jail for a number of times. Whereas they would view that many politicians get away with a lot of white crimes, and because of, as you said, stability of what you may ask yourself. But we don't want to get too much into that because for reasons of not we at UWI sounding, the bell of we are above the law in any way. It's just that we are discussing what many people in all our countries, from Guyana, well, Suriname is involved in CARICOM too, Guyana to Bahamas, etc. Bermuda is not with us, is it? In the CARICOM? I don't think so. It's a British protectorate, and it may not necessarily. But you did make mention about the constitutions that we have to uphold. And just quickly, do you not think that we adopted a Commonwealth Constitution, but there are in some jurisdiction where the laws are not up to date? they're not e-friendly, you may say, if that is a word we can use in discourse. Because at the time those constitutions were issued to the newly independent states, a lot has happened. And hence we haven't adjusted. I mean, take for example, we know little in Dominica about DNA testing, if ever. You see? So aren't we within those constitutions limited? And isn't there room for continual review of constitutions?
Yes, there is.
Yes. Okay. Right. Thank you. At least there is some agreement between Alicia and myself. Not that we are arguing. We are simply bringing to the public information that you wish to know, things that you do discuss in your family rooms or wherever your televisions are placed. And when you go to the market or to the shops, wherever you may be, even in church, people do discuss politics, because politics is part and parcel of life. Let's talk science now. Afiya, has that discussion between Alicia and myself, what has it done to you?
It's very interesting. Based on the last point, we also see in information technology, the law lags behind technology. And I mean, a review of the law is something that we have to look at, because in the age of technology, we have to be up to date with the laws that we have. You know, and that's one thing that the FST, I mean, with the advancing in technology and everything that is happening, the Faculty of Science and Technology focuses on research to ensure that the programs that we offer is relevant to the region and the workplace. So we are always, the faculty is always doing research to ensure that we have relevant programs to the region and not just traditional programs only. We currently have students that are doing research on windmills, wind farms, you know.
Farms, yes.
At an
in
alternative
light of generating electricity.
Yes, that's correct. So that is something that is always ongoing at the faculty. Research is important. We are also one of the most diverse faculties at the university. We have 10 majors and 11 special degree programs. And almost every academic year we put out something new.
Okay, I know you'll promote science and technology, but UWI itself has over, UWI as a body, 800 programs.
Yes.
So your diversity of 10 may be questionable.
At the faculty, at St. Augustine campus, you know, the different faculties, we have the most programs.
Most programs,
yes.
Okay. But then what I would like to ask you, you are a product, Afiya, of the open campus.
Yes, I am.
What has been your experience at UWI? Because students who you are trying to reach here in Dominica and other territories, they would be interested in, you are forever smiling. Does that mean things were just great at UWI? Tell us about your experience.
Things has not always been great. My experience at the open campus first started very rocky because, I mean, you have to develop self-discipline, time management, and being a single parent, working, I had to adjust. But in the end, it was exceptional. Actually, I prefer online rather than face-to-face.
Wow.
Because currently doing my master's, I have to adjust my life to suit, you know, classes, whereas I could have done the reverse at online. I could have gotten up at any point in time and go online and study. Whereas you have to go to class at a certain time now and then still have to make time to do the extra work. So I prefer online. You know,
so your master's now is being done face-to-face?
Face-to-face.
Okay.
That's right.
Is it on leadership, you said?
Strategic leadership and
strategic
management.
Leadership. I think the open campus offers something on leadership, but I'm not too clear on it now.
Okay.
But it's more in terms of educational leadership. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But if we have more programs online, I think more faculties coming online and offering programs online, I think that will reach a lot more audience, and I like online. Okay. And I would encourage anyone to try it.
Okay. What I want you to do is, given a chance now, as you are, to sell the University of the West Indies. You told us about the challenges, but what about the good times at UWI and the open campus? Tell us about that.
The University of the West Indies offer high quality education, second to none. And I would encourage all young adults working or students coming out of Cape to go out there, apply to the St. Augustine campus, and get that education that is required to further yourself in life. It is important to be educated, no matter the walk of life you come from. The University of the West Indies offer the opportunity to anyone, whether it be the Cape students, the mature student. We offer different programs to different persons. So UWI life is great, whether it be online or face-to-face. I would encourage anyone to apply to the University of the West Indies.
Well, we expected you to say that. I would say the same. No. Alicia, you have had a varied experience. University of Guyana, Oxford University in the UK, and
University of Houston in Texas.
In Texas.
I studied at UWI as well.
And at UWI. So you are, as they say, multifaceted when it comes to your training, etc., and professionalism. Given an option, which one would you choose?
Well, of course, I'm going to endorse the University of the West Indies.
if not, no pay this month. No, I'm just joking. Yes. Well, tell us, what has been your experience or your experiences?
Yeah, we have an excellent faculty at the St. Augustine campus. And we come from diverse backgrounds. As you said, I have, I've studied in different places, and I bring together the strengths from those different places in my teaching. And I did a teaching and learning postgraduate certificate course at the University of the West Indies, which helped me to incorporate a lot of interactive sessions in my classes. So we have a varied approach to teaching and learning in the Faculty of Law. What I would say to students considering the University of the West Indies as an option is that it's a truly diverse university. It has the true meaning of university. University comes from two words: unity and diversity. And that's what you see at the University of the West Indies. We unite the diverse territories and the various ethnic groups from around the region at the University of the West Indies. So when you come there, you get a melting pot of culture and experience. It's an education that goes beyond just what you do in academics and in front of the classroom. There's a lot of opportunities for socializing and making contacts and networking with persons that you might encounter throughout your life as a Caribbean person. The Faculty of Law, we offer the undergraduate law degree program, and we have persons from across the region attending that program. And we also have a master's in law. We do the master's in different specialized areas, such as commercial law, legislative drafting, and so on. And then recently we started a PhD program at our faculty in St. Augustine. So we have a very strong faculty, even though it's young. The full-fledged faculty started in 2012, but it is strong, it is diverse. It's been led by Professor Rosemary Bell Antoine, and she's a graduate both from Cambridge and Oxford. We have persons from Nigeria. We have staff from the US recently joined us. So we have a diverse faculty, and we have a diverse amount of interests. So it is something that I would consider a top class and first choice university and faculty.
Wow, with that sort of endorsement, so what else do you expect from someone who studied at UWI too and works at UWI? Like myself, I think it is the #1 university. I should reveal to you, and I did see you nod when you were at the open house, that I studied in England for probably 7 years of my life at the University of Surrey in Guildford. And I've never had a bout of loneliness as I did when I was in England. Whereas I studied at the University of the West Indies, a diploma in education, and that was so much more, entertaining, one, a better environment, and reinforce my cultural roots, one may say. So even if we have studied in the UK and the US, when we get grounded in the University of the West Indies, and we did probably at primary and secondary school, there's nothing better than that. You would agree?
And Felix, if I can add, some persons now, they do the London External Degree and other degree programs in law outside of the University of the West Indies, and they're at a disadvantage if they want to remain in the region, because unlike the University of the West Indies that would focus on the regional constitutions and the regional jurisprudence, the peculiar nature of some of our territories that have hybrid systems like St. Lucia and Guyana. When you study in the UK, you're studying the UK laws. They have a totally different constitutional system, and the reception of laws and the laws there, while we receive the English law in the Commonwealth Caribbean, we have matured from that, we've moved on, and it's very different. So it's hard. I see persons struggling to apply that law when they study overseas and then they try to work within the region. So it's really the best opportunity for yourself to come to a regional university that specializes and teaches the law of the region.
Okay. But generally, I think if persons were to do law in the UK, they would have to do, is it 6 months or thereabout, at UWI Law School?
Yes, if you're admitted to practice in another territory, then you do 6 months at the UWI Law School. But if you only have a degree, then you have to do 2 years.
2 years, yes.
Yes.
Or if you only have your degree, you have to do 2 years
Yes.
at UWI.
Yes, but if you're already an attorney at law practicing in another territory,
Yeah.
then you do a 6 months transitional program.
Well, that's interesting. And you did make mention that master's degrees can be done in commercial law.
Law.
Is that different from corporate law?
No, it's the commercial and corporate law.
Corporate is one and
Yes.
the same thing. And that's where the money is? That's another conception of lawyers. Would you agree?
Yes, that's
Well, I actually got Alicia to commit herself that lawyers do look at the purse, like everybody else.
we value intellectual property.
Intellectual property, that's what it's called. And the lawyers are usually seen, like sometimes doctors, or not sometimes doctors, although I always have a concern about very rich doctors.
But piggybacking on what Alicia was commenting on, the relevance, what I've noticed, I've worked in admissions for a number of years as well. We see a lot of Trinidadians go abroad and do high school, and when they get back, they are having problems being admitted to the university. So having a Caribbean education and then applying to Caribbean institutions is important, because when you go abroad to come back home, you're going to find yourself in difficulties because of the different styles of teaching and the relevance. Because I've had students saying that to me, what they did abroad and when they come here, it's totally different. So they have problems in that area.
And yes, you make mention of the relevance, because sometimes what they did doesn't address some of the problems
That's
that we
right.
have, or the approaches to those problems. That's where there is disparity in terms of, contributing to the Caribbean community, the best community in the world. I can say this. Sometime I was asked in England, why do you come here? And you have all the sunshine and the palm trees and the, everything, bright flowers, etc. And we never have to change for seasons. You can wear a vest as a man throughout the year, whereas you have to prepare for winter and other times. But then that has been so interesting between you two ladies. The entertainment I look forward to for Carnival, you have provided it. In no way it's saying that what you have said here hasn't been sung, and I'm telling you it was a learning exercise for me, okay, particularly with Alicia and the CCJ and the continuing concerns of Caribbean people and its function, its role. We would wish that many of these politicians who lead their countries would become part of the CCJ, because I do believe that the CCJ is the best route to go instead of adhering or holding on to the coattails of the Privy Council based in the UK. We should break away from our colonial past. Keep listening and viewing our programs third Thursday of every month of the year. Thank you.